The second important area of our settings menu is daily rules. So daily rules is how we tell TimeHub what to expect an employee is going to do on a given daily basis on their, you can use the term shift, or their rules, or their template of what's going to happen. So if we look at some of the ones we've got set up here, I'll choose the admin ordinary. So in here, this is for employees who are rostered in the admin department. It's a normal working day. We're expecting them to work from 9 till 2, and we're saying that all of their time is ordinary time. Now, if we looked at the ordinary or the overtime scenario, this is a slightly different variation where, again, it's for employees in the admin department. When this rule applies to a given day for that person, they're expected to work from 8:30 till 5. The first 8 hours is ordinary time. The rest is time and a half, or it could be double, triple, whatever the rule is that you've got in your particular company. The other thing we can do in the daily rules is we can set up an anchoring. So anchoring is a little bit different to rounding. Rounding happens every time the employee clocks, whereas with anchoring we're saying, okay, for 30 minutes prior to 8:30, we will deem that the employee is just early and we're not paying them. So if they clocked in at 8 o'clock, the system would anchor that time back to 8:30. If you expected an employee to potentially come in at 8 o'clock, and you made 29 minutes before, if they came in at 8 o'clock, it would stay there, but 8:01 would go to 8:30. Same on their out time. We can anchor at the end of the shift. So this is only based on this time and this time, 14 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. So it's used for scenarios where the employees are likely to clock in early, but not start getting paid until the start of their shift. The other part of the rules we have in here to address is the meal breaks. So under our auto breaks, auto breaks can be handled a number of ways. One is that you can have the employees physically clocking their breaks, in which case they would clock out and clock back in, and then the rounding rules would apply. The second option is to have a break at a time. So where you've got a shift like this, where it's 8:30 till 5, it's logical that the employee would be expected to take an unpaid break, not a paid break, at 12:30 for 30 minutes. We have a minimum setting here, and what that does is if the employee clocks out at 12:30, clocking will override the automatic break. But in that case, if the employee clocked out, but they only clocked out for 15 minutes, we're saying, okay, we will still deduct a minimum of 30 minutes. The other option you've got in here is the after rule, where we're saying the employee will have a break after, say, 6 hours worked, and that break will be 30 minutes. So in that case, once they've worked for 6 hours, then they will have a break deducted of 30 minutes. Now the way that will work is if they actually work 6 hours, then they'll get paid 5.5 hours of work time with a 30-minute deducted break. So depending on which way that's set up. So setting up a new code, let's close this one, is really straightforward. We add the code, give it a name, we give it a description. We would set it to normal working. I'll come back in the next video and talk about the other options. We set an expected start and finish time, so we're going to say this rule would be from 9 till 4, bearing in mind that everything in TimeHub is 24-hour clock. We can say how many hours they will get of ordinary time, so we could say that this rule, they will have the first 8 hours of ordinary, and then everything else after that is time and a half. We'll anchor the day by 15 and 14 and 29, and we'll say we're going to have a break after 6 hours worked of 30 minutes, and we simply save that. If we wanted to save variations of this where we're going to have a similar rule for different areas, then you can use the save and copy option, which will copy this particular setup and create a new rule for you just to go and edit. But in this case, I will just go and save it, and we now have our new rule set up in here under demo with the rules set. Next, we'll come back and talk about the other options under type.